We have the Minister of Finance, Mr. Marchenko, the Minister of the Economy, Mr. Sobolev, and the Deputy Prime Minister for European and Euro-Atlantic Integration, Mr. Kushku. Thank you all for coming. This is a great, great pleasure. Let me ask you, Mr. Marchenko, what is, from your point of view, Ukraine's most pressing need right now? What is it that is, if you could wave a magic wand, what is it that you need the most?
It's easier to answer. Money. We need money. We need more money than it was this year because war is ongoing. It's not. We haven't seen a final stage of this war, so we need to prepare. We need to prepare our military. We need to prepare our people to fight another year of war. So we need money. Our uncovered gap for next year is around 16 billion euro, and it's still counting. And I hope we can find same ground with our partners, and we fill this gap, and we will be able to finance our next year budget. This is a key issue which we have.
How confident are you on the energy situation? Do you think winter this year, will there be blackouts? Do you have to worry about energy security? What is the status over there?
Well, to be honest with you, it's a typical point of vulnerability when we approach into the heating season. But I believe that we can survive despite all of the challenges because we survived already 3 winters of war. And probably it's a question of necessary preparation, what steps government need to take together with military to be able to protect our critical facilities.
When you talk about money, what do you need to balance the budget? 10, 50, I mean, the numbers one hears are between 10 and 20 billion.
16 billion euro.
16 billion euro.
It's a gap which is not met. It's not met yet. So we need some time to make our work done until we finally been able to finance our needs.
Have you been given a sense of guidance about these Russian assets? Are they being collateralized? Are they going to float loans on the basis of them? Are you expecting any money from that in the near future?
Our European colleagues now are very creative. They are able to prepare different mechanisms which help us to utilize or nurture frozen assets without real seizure rate. For us, it's okay. So if they provide us a loan, if they multiply these frozen assets, providing us either loan to different other mechanisms, there are still ongoing debates. I don't want to spoil this debate, but I hope that what we can achieve, it's only the fact that we can respect the possible solutions when we deal with Europeans. So they are more familiar with this case and they are going ahead with the possibility to provide us some kind of yields from frozen Russian assets in different forms. They are not talking about one specific forms.
Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, you may be more familiar with these conversations with the Europeans. Where do things stand in terms of Russia's frozen assets and the possibility of some money being released as a result?
I think that the news was 2 days ago, so that Ursula von der Leyen in her State of the European Union made a very clear statement about the so-called reparation loans. So it was a political announcement to the full European Parliament, maybe the only occasion when all MEPs are gathered in Strasbourg in one room. So it was very clear and precise with details that the Russian frozen assets will be used as a sort of collateral for the loan that will be repaid only when Russia will agree to pay reparations. Yeah, so this is a very broad political framework. It is still to be elaborated as a legal and financial tool, but the statement is very clear, and it was made also public. It means that it is advanced in the thinking of European institutions and member states.
But Belgium still opposes it or has raised obstacles. Is it not the case?
It is in the making, yes. So there are discussions between European institutions and member states about the actual way how to do it, how to ensure the decision, how to make the decision properly, take into account also the position of Belgium as a member state. So yeah, the actual attitude to this is well known, but the fact that it was made a public announcement, it is also a part of decision making. Yeah, so that's why I hope that the forthcoming months will be months of dynamic towards the final decision on this. And as well, Belgium is opposing the full taking ownership of the Russian assets, and what was highlighted by Ursula von der Leyen, that it is not the case. The legal construction and financial construction will be of different kind, so that's why maybe Belgium will support this idea.
Mr. Sobolev, let's talk a little bit about foreign investment and conditions for foreign investment. Give us a sense of what are your conversations? Do people seem interested in talking about investing in Ukraine?
I think we have more than conversations. So you can look at the track record, and it is there are like good sides and bad sides. But just the statistics that the FDI inflow into Ukraine is around probably like 3 billion per year, which is like meager sum compared to the damages that Russia inflicts. At the same time, we have a lot of announced investments, a lot of programs, and a lot of deals that were signed this year. So, for example, we signed a huge deal between Ukrainian companies and Danish funds that also financed by IFIs, 450 million to construct the wind farm. There's also, just a couple of weeks ago, there was the first ever IPO of a Ukrainian company on NASDAQ in the US, right, Kyivstar, quite successful, done through PAC. So if anyone would have told me like 3 years ago that this is possible, even like before full-scale invasion, I would be very skeptical. And now, like through full-scale invasion, and it is quite successful, and the valuation is good. So like there's this. The other bit is that we're progressing with US-Ukraine fund on the results of the minerals deal, so-called. It is very active. So like from the start of negotiations in February to the first board meeting in September we had last week. So if you even look at the private sector to establish this kind of like big vehicle, big investment fund in the country in the full-scale invasion, I think for the private sector it would be a challenge to do that in such a short time frame. And we actually did it. And right now there is site visits from DFC, from US, and we're going to the regions tomorrow with them to look for investment pipeline. And the other thing that's very different in this critical mineral sector in mining, we've been approached by the global mining companies that sometimes worked with Ukraine, like bought our raw materials, but now they're thinking of like exploring more and investing here. So this has happened, like the people who are working in this industry for 20 years tell me that this is the first time ever happened. So we have, I think people are preparing, and we're preparing the tools, and the interest is really good, as also evidenced by the Kyivstar IPO.
So when I talk to people in the minerals industry, they say these explorations will take a long time, that these minerals are often fairly deep buried. That this is something that is not going to yield much fruit for many, many, many years.
Well, yes, but at the same time, they do exist. We understand why this is important, because like people want to decouple from China and to make their supply chains more secure. And this is the trick. So if we're able to create an environment in Ukraine where you can invest for 10 years before you get like big returns, then everything else should work, right? So this is what we're trying to build, and I think it's very important that it's successful. But the level of interest and kind of actual practical steps that companies take to be part of that, I think is very encouraging. But also this US-Ukraine fund is not only investing in critical minerals, it's also investing in energy. So some oil and gas projects could take a couple of years to generate revenue, and we're discussing this. Infrastructure, energy, and like IT infrastructure. So like there are many sectors that the fund will be looking into. That's one. The other, in Rome, we announced the Ukraine EU fund, which will be backed by more than 200 million first loss guarantee. So the whole fund will be like $500 million, $1 billion. It's a private equity fund to stimulate like investment in Ukrainian production, like factories, etc., on the way to EU integration, and maybe co-invest with this US fund. So basically what I'm saying is that this thing at this scale like didn't exist at all, and now it's kind of coming to fruition. So this is the part of the journey we're in now.
Mr. Kachka and Mr. Sobolev, I want to ask you both about the issue that still comes up whenever I talk to people about investing in Ukraine, which is corruption. And I asked you from the EU point of view, and then we'll get to the path to the EU, and from your point of view in investment. What are the things that institutionally still need to take place in order to convince both foreign investors and the European Union that Ukraine is on the right path?
So I think that there will be a discussion a little bit later today in the agenda, more detailed, more nuanced. But in my opinion, that what we did, so that I'm relatively new in this portfolio, I was responsible for trade, so that's why it's like more external assessment. So that what was done on legislative base and institutional base for last 6 years is incredible. So we have, after all this news about any new investigation is a result of successful institution building and amendments of legislations. And now we need to concentrate on maintaining the institutions and make them work. And a lot of, so the majority of actions in that we agreed with the European Union are rather related with institutional building. Of course, there are some legislative amendments, but generally the idea is that now we are entering the era of actual application of all those rules that have been proposed by experts on this policy. So that's why I think, and it is the most challenging stage, because it requires a lot of patience in society, because we will have like pop-ups of different kind of investigations. But this is actual structural change of political culture in Ukraine, and this is something that business, international business and domestic business mostly also required from us.
Mr. Sobolev?
Yeah, this is of course a big question for Ukraine raised all the time. So I completely agree. So I was a part of this anti-corruption infrastructure. My team helped to create Prozoro Sale, which is like an auction platform that helps to sell, privatize assets, do licenses on the world's transparent basis, most transparent basis. We won a UN award for that. So I think in the last 10 years we did a lot and progressed a lot. And if you ask from the investment side, the question that we got usually get from investors is the like labor issue would be number one. The other is a lot of like some regulations connecting to grids, so to be able to set this up. So it is very uneven as this corruption issue that is spread across the country. What we're saying is that there are many sectors that are very well run and very well governed. Yes, there are more shady sectors, but I think like even during the last 3 years, you can look at the assessment and the transparency index have grown. So basically, we did a lot of work that's needed to root out of corruption. Are we there yet? No. There is still a long way to go, but since we're going to be an EU member, and like there is no other way around that. So just in the last time we appointed a Bureau of Economic Security director, relaunched competition for asset management recovery agency, the customs launching competition with independent with international supervisory members for the customs. So basically we're doing all the steps to progress further. And maybe the last bit, so as you can see that the anti-corruption infrastructure kind of works in Ukraine, you're seeing this this number of prosecution against top-level politicians, and kind of it looks like it increases, but it increases because actually the system works, right? So the and like before that, there were less cases just because the system didn't work. So in the media, it looks like, oh, like this is the issue becomes bigger, but I think we're getting through the hump of actually like just because the system started to work and finally it makes this appearance that this is kind of a bigger issue than it was before.
Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, what would you say in very simple terms, not technical ones? What are the obstacles what are the main obstacles for Ukraine to become a member of the European Union?
It will sound strange, but we have no strategic obstacle to it. We are in our negotiations with the European Union, we are at the moment of the start of the most important actual negotiations. So that's this month we will end screenings that are like the finalization of, let's say, preparation for actual negotiations. Usually it takes like average 4 years to implement everything on domestic level, and this is the negotiations, when you report how you implement. Of course, we have tactical problem like Hungarian blockade of opening the clusters. But it is, as you said, very technical. I think that now we see that all other member states and European institutions are ready to continue without any delays, and if necessary, even without Hungary, even if it will be like a sort of step aside of the unanimity required for the opening of this cluster. So that's why in the forthcoming weeks we will see some events on how we will start this work, and all these 6 clusters will be opened this year. And here the European Union shows that Ukraine is very specific based. It is merit based. No one is actually giving us any shortcuts. We will do everything from A to Z or what is required from us. But there is a will not to be stuck like some other candidate countries into being blocked by neighbors. Yeah, so that's, and as well, meanwhile, we maintain our dialogue with Hungary. We are not giving up on them, even if, despite their public statements about our future in the European Union. So that's why, from strategic point of view, we have full support of becoming a member of the European Union. This fall, we will open all clusters, and we will start these actual implementation, actual negotiations, and meanwhile resolve the political problem of political unanimity of all 27 member states. So it is something that is needed for Ukraine, for the European Union, for Europe as a continent in general, and people are conscious about this.
I wonder if I can ask Radek Sikorsky, because he's in the hall here. What is your perspective on the prospects for European Union membership for Ukraine, particularly given the role of Hungary in all of this?
Poland held the presidency of the EU until the 31st of December. We handed over to Denmark, and the priority of the Polish presidency was to open the first negotiating cluster, so-called, fundamental matters, which includes rule of law and therefore also corruption. And all the technical arrangements were in place. The Commission's opinion was that Ukraine is ready to negotiate this, and we had consensus -1. As you hinted, one member state vetoed actual start of negotiations for a very particular bilateral issue. Hungary is of the view that Ukraine discriminates the Hungarian minority in the Subcarpathian Ruthenia. We explained to Hungary that they are not the only country with a minority in Ukraine. We have several 100,000 Poles, and we believe that these issues are to be handled by the Council of Europe Convention on the Protection of Minorities. Just like that should be the basis for rights of minorities in Ukraine and Russia between the two countries. And this is a very good convention. So if there is more than 20% of minority members in any one administrative district, then you are entitled to double names in the two languages. That language should be used in schools, in public, in courts, in public administration, and so on. Now, Hungary says, yeah, that's okay, but it's not enough. That an unwritten rule should be that if a minority has some privileges above that, then the privileges should not be diminished. So, for example, if you have schools that provide for education in the minority language in all subjects, that should be kept. Whereas countries, and it's not just Ukraine, say, you can teach history and Hungarian language in Hungarian, but you also need to learn the state language. And this is the nub of the agreement, of the disagreement. And we think, sure, you can blackmail all of the EU with your bilateral issue, but there are limits. And in our view, Hungary has gone beyond what's reasonable.
Maybe just to close this topic, because I don't think that so it is important policy. I agree with Minister Sikorski that we have a lot of national minorities in Ukraine. We have national minorities, Roma community, Jewish community. So that's neighboring states, all of them. Yeah, so they have and. These communities live here for ages, and we have no problem with them. So that's a starting point. The example that was used is the very interesting element that we see that the opinions of Hungarian governments are related to the fact that we introduced structural reforms in the areas that touches the daily life of minorities. Education. We started reform almost 10 years ago on all education and the approach to curriculum, and the question raised by Hungarian government are related to the fact that in the course of reform some things haven't changed because it's about reform. The same is about lives on local level. All the objections or opinions are related to the fact that we introduced a reform of decentralization, and these reforms were supported by the EU. It is our, let's say, structural change on the path to the European Union. But I am happy, to say that we see no disagreements on the substance. All the topics that have been raised by Hungarian government, we say we are okay because they are very technical. We have no problem with it. So that we now working only on drafting these fine tunes in the legislation, because they are not actually canceling the reforms. But what we are saying is that it was literally like a quote of my conversation, is that Danube flows to one direction. So we cannot just bring back the concepts that existed in beginning of 90s. So that's why we need to take into account that Ukraine is also changing. So that's why I think that so that the solution on minorities is there. So that's why it is rather a political question whether Hungary is able to agree on opening the clusters, even if it disagree with final accession of Ukraine to the European Union, but just to make it possible to maintain the pace of negotiations. So that's why I don't think that the minorities is something that blocks us. It's otherwise. We have no problems on this track with them.
So when do you think then that problem will be resolved and the accession process will begin?
So I met with Peter Sijarto Thursday, so that 2 days ago, and I hope that we will get a feedback soon, and it will be clear whether we have Hungarian government on board engaging with us bilaterally and in the institution, or it will be their decision to come back after elections. Then we will calibrate the work as well. But I hope that our attitude and what we offered to the Hungarian government, it's beyond minorities, it's about other areas of cooperation, gives them a lot of reasons to change their attitude. So that we expect in forthcoming weeks these developments. Of course, it might not happen. It's their sovereign decisions. They're very keen on sovereignty and we really respect their position. But I hope that we can convince them to change a little, to calibrate, not to change, just to calibrate their approach on technical levels on opening the clusters. Thank you.
Victor Pinchuk with a very special message.
No, message not from me. Yeah, just we have new participant of our conference. Yesterday evening we received a video message from the United States, from Washington, from White House. I have to from the Oval. We have, let's say, history, relatively long history. You know, in 2015, we asked very famous American businessman. He just announced that he will run for president, and candidate Donald Trump, he had a video link with us. It was exactly 10 years ago. It was 11th of September. Yeah, 10 years today. And during his campaign in 2024, he also sent messages to our conference. But what's the significant difference? It was candidate Trump in 2015. It was candidate Trump in 2024. Now, first time in the history of years, first time in the history of years, we have, yeah, maybe it's 1 or 2 minutes video message from the Oval, from the acting president of the United States, first time. And it's very important, very significant. One other significance, President Trump has difficult days because he lost very close ally, Charlie Kirk, and our condolences, and very sincere condolences. It's tragedy. But still, it's for us and for all of us, it's very telling. In this difficult moment, still message, I'm with you, I'm with Ukraine, I really want to end this war and stop killing. And significance of that 1 or 2 minute message. America with us, President Trump with us. Okay, it's my great honor, I think it's great honor for all of us just to watch a video message from the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Please.
Hello to everyone at the Yalta European Strategy Forum. Congratulations on the 20th anniversary of this very important conference, and thank you for your work to end this terrible war. It should never have happened and would never have happened if I were president. I've said that many, many times. Hopefully we'll be able to stop the killing and bring the world to peace. We have made more progress toward peace in the past 3 months than Joe Biden made in the whole 3 years. The war never should have started. As I've said before, I believe this war ultimately will not end on the battlefield. It will end at the negotiating table. That's why I had a productive initial meeting with President Putin last month in Alaska, followed by a very positive summit with President Zelensky and European leaders at the White House a few days later. We're continuing to work hard for peace. Thank you all for your efforts and all of your hard work and thoughts, and God bless you, your families, and everyone.